There is one thing in life that I vowed I would never do under any circumstance, and that was to move in with a woman. I made the decision when I was about 14 or 15 years old to never live with a woman no matter how hard life became and even if I was facing homelessness. Now you might wonder why I am so serious about not living with a woman. After all, it's not that big of a deal, right? Well, I'll tell you exactly what I saw that yanked me straight out of the blue pill matrix at such a young age. One night I was home chilling, bored out of my mind. Then I decided to link up with one of my friends and talk about banging women and different types of foolishness. You know, when you're a teenager, the only thing on your mind is sliding up into some sweet sugary walls and getting into a relationship with the sexy girl at your school. You know, it's true. I don't want any of you watching this right now to act like you were thinking about going your own way when you were a teenager. Most guys my age were thinking about getting a little bit of stank on their finger and hopefully getting laid. So I started the journey until I eventually reached my friend's yard. This is where I saw a glimpse of how selfish modern XXs can be. Picture this, there are 3 houses in the yard. One is a rental and very close to the roadside, the second is slightly topside, and the third is up on a hill a reasonable distance from the road. My friend lived in the third house, which was a good distance from the roadside, so I called out to him until he told me he was on his way to come and meet me. Now, this is where the story gets interesting. I was on the road waiting for my friend when I noticed that one of the tenants was on the veranda of the rental property knocking on the door repeatedly. I want you to guess which gender was out in the cold night beating down the door to get inside. I became curious about the situation, so I went closer to hear what was going on and hopefully get to know why the man was left outside knocking at the door without an answer. So I walked a bit closer, and I started to try and listen to the conversation this man was having, and it turned out that he lived with a woman. I don't know how he didn't notice I was standing a couple of meters away from him, but he kept calling out to the woman and literally begging her to let him inside the house. This was where I started to look at the situation with disgust because prior to that night, I remembered seeing the guy taking care of this woman's daughter when she was in the States, and to see how he was being treated made me feel disgusted about the entire situation. So the guy begged and pleaded with this woman to open the door and let him in, but she decided she would teach the guy a lesson. While waiting for my friend, I saw a man degrading himself to a woman because he had to rely on her. And from that day on, I decided I would never end up in that situation. You see, the woman rented the house and he was just staying there with her as her boyfriend. Maybe he was helping to pay the bills, that I don't know, but I saw firsthand the disrespect that can occur when you live under a woman's shelter, and I wanted none of it. And if memory serves me right, he slept outside the entire night on the cold concrete. I could go into the story of how that woman was a massive 304 and he was a fool to be with her. But the underlying message is to never move in with a woman, period. I don't care what happens to you in life, do not move in with a woman under any circumstance. I would prefer that you sleep on one of your friend's couches and get your life back in order rather than move in and live up under a woman where you're subjected to her rules and dealing with her BS. Because many men don't know exactly what they are getting into, and in their mind moving in with a woman means you can get more sex and live cheaper. Let me tell you something that is not what's going to happen for 99% of guys that choose to cohabitate under a woman's roof. I'm going to break down the reasons why you should not move in with a woman and give you the reality of the situation that society doesn't tell you. First off, before I give you the main reasons why you shouldn't move in with a woman, let me debunk this myth real quick. Here's the deal, a lot of dudes believe that when they cohabitate with a woman under his or her roof, they will have more bedroom fun than if they lived separately. The truth is that's not what typically happens when you live with a woman, and any honest married guy will tell you that over time the bedroom fun will get less and less the longer you live with a woman. When you first move in with a woman, you guys will initially go at it like rabbits and have back blown out sessions multiple times a day. Then what is going to happen is that real life will happen. The bills will need to be paid and other responsibilities will come up, so you won't have time to be fornicating left, right, and center. Not only that, you guys will start to become complacent with each other and you'll see a side of that woman you didn't know when you were living apart. Because when you guys are living apart, she is going to put in the effort to look good for you and hide a lot of her bad habits. But when you guys move in together, she doesn't have to put in any effort because you aren't going anywhere. You'll see her wearing an oversized shirt with no bra on and big sweatpants to bed with her bonnet on. You'll smell her farts, smell her stanky morning breath, see her take a dump in the toilet and smell the aftermath of the carnage, and see her period panties hanged in your bathroom and smell all of that. Before you guys moved in together, you were shielded from most of that, but when you live with her, you'll see her as a normal human being, and you won't like most of her ways. Sometimes this woman won't even take a shower for a couple of days, and she'll want to throw that functified fish guts all over you, bruh. And some of you will be happy to get any piece of peace leave from her at that particular point, so you'll stop your breath and beat out that and be glad to do so. Can you imagine the scent that the room will have after you are done beating up that smelly peace leaf? Oh my goodness. Not only that, she will start to ration out her sweet watery guts to you and make you do chore play or develop a reward system in order for her to have bedroom fun with you. You see, before you guys moved in, she was trained by you and all the other men that she was with, that in order for her to give up her body, she would typically receive something of value. So in other words, it was a transaction that was done between her and the men she hooked up with. Maybe they carried her out on a date, vacationed together, paid her bills and utilities, gave her money directly for the segs, or bought her gifts in order to get between her legs. You, on the other hand, living with her, won't be incentivized to do all of that work because she's literally a few meters away from you every day. Eventually, what will happen is she will either talk to her friends about your relationship and Seg's life, because that's what women do. She'll find something about you to start complaining to her friends about, because I want you guys to remember that women can never be happy. And her friends will hear all the negatives about your relationship because that's what she's focusing on, and they'll encourage her to use bedroom fun as a weapon to make you start acting right. And this is when you'll have to start doing something for her to give up her guts. Even though you are paying 50% of the bills, if not more, none of that won't matter. She will also feel that you are using her for bedroom fun because she isn't getting something for giving you her sugary walls. She will become resentful and start giving you less and less bedroom fun in order for you to start doing things with her so she can feel like she is getting a good deal. This is why you hear married couples talk about date night, vacationing, buying gifts, and doing other BS. This is all because if you don't do these things as a man, she will start having less and less bedroom fun with you over time. All of this started from the relationship stages and gradually moved well into marriage. So if you believe this won't happen to you, you're kidding yourself. The last thing that will happen is that both of you will have less attraction for each other the longer you live together. When you are living apart, you have time to think about and miss the other person. Also, because you don't know the person very well, there is an element of mystery there that will keep the attraction a little longer. Living with a woman removes all of that and makes you lose interest in each other because you'll get to see her for who she is and not who you fantasize her to be, if that makes sense. All of the things I've listed will happen in one way or another without fail, and now you know the truth about living with women. As it related to living expenses and the myth that you'll save money living with a woman, that's completer and utter BS. You'll end up spending more money with most, if not all, women you cohabitate with. There will always be a few exceptions of women in the human race who are so frugal or simple that they end up saving you money. 99.9999999% of the female species will make you spend an absurd amount of money throughout your relationship. So don't be tricked into thinking living with a modern woman will save you money. That's a surefire way to live paycheck to paycheck or just above broke for most men. So do not move in with a woman to save money because it will not happen. Alright, now that we busted up those two myths, let's look at the main reasons why you shouldn't move in with a woman and live under her roof. I don't recommend living with a woman, period, but if you have to do it because you're horny, let her move in with you. Don't let her collect mail at your place. Don't give her a key to your home. Don't let her introduce herself to your neighbor as your girlfriend. And don't put her name on the lease or mortgage. If you know what's good for you, follow everything I just listed. For added protection before she moves in, let her sign a cohabitation agreement so that you can protect yourself in case you guys have a dispute and you want to get her off your residence. Guys, I know you want to live with your boo to roar all up inside her whenever you want, even though I just busted that myth of that not happening. Make sure you protect yourself because dealing with women isn't a game out here. Now back to the reasons not to move in with a woman. Number 1, you will not have any control over her home. Even if you pay half or more of the bills in that house, she will make it clear that you are in her space, and she will not, in most cases, let you have control in that house. She will belittle you, start fights and arguments, throw out your belongings, threaten to kick you out, or literally kick you out if you and your boo have a dispute or disagreement. You see, women love to dominate the space that they are in. They do this for protection purposes, so they don't end up living on the streets, so they will take up as much space as possible and find means and ways to make it hard or impossible to just throw her out. You see this in marriages all the time where the man says he stays in his man cave while the wife and kids have the rest of the big house all to themselves. It's sad, but he put himself in that position by marrying her. So do you expect her to not do the same thing or worse if you live under her roof? Think, gents, think. Number 2 is you will never have peace, quiet, freedom, or privacy as long as you live with a woman. She will be there all day, every day, talking, complaining, arguing, and doing BS to get your attention or start up some type of drama. You will never just have a peaceful home living under the roof of a modern woman. Also, some of them will use DV on you if you're not listening or following what she says. So if you value any of these things, do not move in with a woman. The worst part is you won't be able to say what you want to say and do what you want to do without her threatening to kick you out more often than not. And you won't be able to be a masculine man being under her roof. She will make sure of that, so for the love of God, don't do it. Number 3, at any moment, she can bring in another man and kick you out. Living with women invites drama, chaos, and turmoil into your life. That's how it will be for most men on this floating rock orbiting out in space. When you have your own place, you can better control and manage her destructive behaviors because you have more control. But living under her roof, you have zero control. She will disrespect you, and she might kick you out to bring in another man. So if you don't want this to happen, then don't go and live with a woman. I know some of you hope strategists don't believe me. That's okay. I came with evidence on deck to prove my point. Let me ask you, how many stories have you heard of women effing other guys on their husband's bed that he paid for? How often during separation have you heard of a woman moving the man she was effing into the marital home, and they start living together while the husband has to go live in an apartment? Gents, this happens all the time. So again, just don't move in with a woman and you won't have to deal with any of this. These are the most common reason why you shouldn't live with a woman under any circumstance. If you already live with one, then start working towards living on your own and being self-sufficient. A real masculine man shouldn't have to rely on a woman for anything, so work towards your own independence. Tap the thumbs up button and subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section saying that you subscribed, and I'll personally reply and leave a comment under your post. Let me know what you guys think about living under a woman's roof. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the subject. And gents, remember, you cannot have peace, quiet, and freedom living with a woman. Never forget that.